All right, it is the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and we are down to 8 now. Obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Houston Texans, the Washington Commanders, the Detroit Lions, the Los Angeles Rams, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Baltimore Ravens, and the Buffalo Bills are the final 8 here in the 2024-2025 NFL season. One of these 8 teams will be Super Bowl champions this year. And today, we are going to predict the final 4, obviously 4 matchups this week for the divisional round of the playoffs. And again, we see the 2 number 1 seeds, obviously, in the Chiefs and the Detroit Lions, of course, playing their first games now in the postseason. We're going to go through every single game right now. And folks, if you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more weekly NFL predictions here on the channel. We've been doing this every single week since week 1. We did every single college football game this year. We predicted every single one. We still have the national championship game prediction, which will probably come out, I don't know, tomorrow or Saturday. I don't know when I'm going to do that video for Notre Dame and Ohio State. And we've also been doing college basketball best bets daily here on the channel. Every single day we come on here in the morning and do 5 best bets for college basketball. And I've also predicted every single NBA game so far this season as well. And we've been doing this for a while too. Weekly UFC predictions. And this week it is UFC 311 in Inglewood, California for the lightweight championship. Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan for the lightweight championship of the world. And also later this year, when it becomes baseball season with the MLB, we're going to be doing daily MLB best bets, 5 best bets per day. So stay on the lookout for that later in the year if you are into baseball. All right, let's get on to our first prediction of the NFL postseason for the divisional round. We start at Arrowhead Stadium with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Houston Texans. And guys, I hate to say it, the Chiefs are going to beat the Texans. I mean, it's just, okay. When I was watching the Chargers and the Texans, I get it. The Chargers played a very poor football game. It's the worst game we saw Justin Herbert play all season long last week in Houston for the Chargers. But ultimately now, again, I thought the Chargers were a better matchup to play Kansas City. Now Houston gets to go into KC and play the Chiefs. And guys, does anyone expect the Texans to go into Kansas City and win? Let's just be honest. The Chiefs are 15-2. Again, they've been probably the most unimpressive 15-2 team of all time. But yet here they are still in the postseason. They're the number 1 seed, and the Ravens and the Bills have to play each other, obviously being 2 and 3. So now the Chiefs get the benefit of playing the number 4 seed, which is the Houston Texans. I mean, it's just, Kansas City is obviously expected to win the football game. I do think the Texans actually cover. They're getting 8 points on the road. If you recall, the Texans and the Chiefs played in the regular season, week number 16 at Arrowhead, and the Chiefs won the game by 8 points. Again, I have no doubt in my mind the Chiefs don't beat the Texans. As much as I hate to say it, guys, CJ Stroud is not going into Arrowhead and winning. Stroud has played not that great a ball this year. You watched that first half the Texans played in in Houston against the Chargers last week. CJ Stroud looked lost out there, and really, again, he was not the reason the Texans won. Ultimately, the reason that the Houston Texans beat the Los Angeles Chargers was because Justin Herbert threw 4 interceptions. That's really the reason why Houston won that football game. They were ice cold going into the postseason. We've already seen them play the elite teams in the AFC down the stretch, and they lost back-to-back games to the Chiefs and the Ravens. What changes? If anything, the Chiefs are only going to get better because it's the playoffs. However, I am going to take Houston to cover the spread. Why? I just don't think the Chiefs are that good. And I don't think all this time off is going to help them either. This is where I would have liked to see a really good defense of the Chargers come in with an offense that can be explosive at times with Justin Herbert. I still think the Chargers, I know they went to Houston and lost, I still think they match up better with Kansas City. This is why, though, I think the Texans cover the 8 points. The Texans played a meaningful football game last week. They won a playoff game at home against the Chargers. The Chiefs have been off since Christmas. It's the last time the Chiefs played a meaningful football game. That's the last time Mahomes played. That's the last time Travis Kelce played, was their Christmas Day win on the road in Pittsburgh. Again, they get rest. I get that, but they've been off for 21 days. I think that's going to play somewhat of a factor. Again, I think the Chiefs are going to get out to a really slow start, but ultimately, I do think they edge out a very close win. I think the final score of this game is going to be like 27-24 Kansas City. If I had to guess, it'll be something like that. The Chiefs don't score over 30. That's just not what they do this season. But I do think Kansas City barely gets one out here on the Texans. As much as I hate to say it. Also, Joe Mixon is questionable to play this football game. Who knows if Mixon will give it a go? I would assume he'll play, but at least, again, it is being made somewhat of a big deal that, Mixon at least has popped up on the injury report. again, for as bad as Mahomes has been this season, for as average, I guess, as he has been this year, I think, again, last year, and hear me out, guys, I feel like the Chiefs, going into the playoffs this year, they feel like they're worse this year than they were last year. But think about it. Last year, they were 11-5. They were the 2 seed still. Or they were they're at 2 because they had to play the Dolphins in the first round at Arrowhead, the negative 5-degree game. But they felt like they were bad then, and look, they still made the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl, obviously. But is it odd to say that I think they look even worse this year? And last year they were 11-5, now they're 15-2. It's just sometimes their defense will lose them games last year. This year, their offense will, like, the KC offense is not going to win them a football game in the regular season. Now, in the playoffs, though, I just think things change. Now, next week, we'll see who Kansas City gets. I think it's tough matchups against Baltimore and Buffalo. I'll be honest with you, I think the Buffalo matchup is a lot more difficult for Kansas City if we're just being honest with ourselves. But again, we will go on to that next week if that's the game we end up getting. Who knows? But guys, again, does anyone expect the Chiefs to lose the Texans? No. I think, again, though, the way Kansas City has been so unimpressive this year, the 21-day layoff since their last meaningful game on Christmas, I think that plays somewhat of a factor, and I think that's why the Texans, I think early in this game, the Texans are going to be up. I think they're going to be leading. I think we might even see a chance in this game, a spot in this game, where Kansas City are live dogs, and if they are, I would take it. Also, guys, is the NFL going to let the Chiefs lose in the first round here? They're chasing the three-peat. The least they'll let them go is all the way to the AFC Championship game. Guys, the NFL wants that narrative. They are not going to allow the Chiefs to lose to a 10-7 Texans team. Let's just be honest with ourselves here. Give me Kansas City. Guys, they're 15-2. And again, they've been so impressive this year. They beat the Raiders by 2 points, Chargers by 2 points, Texans by 1 score, Broncos by 2 points, Bucks by 6 points in overtime, Raiders by 7 points, Chargers by 7, Falcons by 5, Bengals by 1, Ravens by 7. But they win 1-score games. And ultimately, I don't think KC's winning the Super Bowl this year. But if they do, it's going to be because they win 1-score football games. We'll see. I'm taking Kansas City to win this game here against the Houston Texans. I think the Texans cover because, again, KC has played nothing but 1-score games all year, except for, I guess, that Steelers game on the road. But looking at it now, we saw how bad the Steelers were down the stretch. I'm not going to put too much into that game. So ultimately, give me the Chiefs to win, but I will take the Houston Texans to cover. That's probably the most boring game of the week, okay? Don't care anymore. Let's move on to the better games. We go to Ford Field, Detroit, Michigan. We've got the number 1 seeded Detroit Lions hosting the number 6 seed in Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. Give me the Lions by 20. Yep. I think they blow the Commanders out. Okay, here's the question I'm going to ask you right now. Do you honestly think a team in the NFC can go into Detroit and win? I think Philadelphia might have the best chance of doing that, and we're going to get to the Eagles in a second here. But let's just be honest. Do you think anyone can go into Detroit and win? Let alone, do you think the Commanders can go into Detroit and win? Let's just be honest, guys. They're not. The Commanders are not going into Detroit and winning. I get it. They're on now a 6-game winning streak. It starts with the Titans win, the close win where Spencer Rattler had a shot to win the football game at the end for the Saints, but they couldn't convert the 2-point conversion. The Eagles victory, the Falcons win, the Cowboys win on the road to close the year, and obviously in the postseason they go to Tampa Bay and beat the Buccaneers. Todd Bowles should be fired. How does Baker Mayfield go 15 for 18? How? How does Baker only throw the ball 18 times in one game? I hate Todd Bowles. Why is he not gone? Oh my God. He's just such a horrible coach. I didn't think it could get worse after Leftwich left. But no, it did. Horrible clock management, too, by Todd Bowles. He is the absolute worst. But good for the Commanders, right? Jaden Daniels is that guy. They go on the road and win in the postseason. It's the first time a rookie quarterback has done that in a very long time. So I'll give Jaden Daniels all the credit in the world because he deserves it. But let's just be honest, guys. This is where it ends. The Cinderella story ends right now. Okay, it just does. Because the Detroit Lions are a juggernaut. The Detroit Lions are the best team in the National Football League. I've been saying this all year long. Jared Goff is one of the top 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL. Detroit was good last year in the playoffs. Ultimately, they lost in the NFC Championship game to the 49ers. But here's the thing. This time around, the Lions don't have to go on the road. There is no road games for Detroit this year. The NFC runs right through Ford Field. And then they get to go to the Super Bowl if they get there, and it's in a dome as well. It's in the Superdome in New Orleans. So Detroit doesn't have to play outside for the rest of the year. I think it really benefits them. It's just that's their environment. That's where they play. Again, Washington, sneaked out of Tampa with a victory. That's great. You're not sneaking out of Detroit right now with anything. The Lions, they got healthy over the bye week, over, again, the first round bye. And guys, how much better did that defense look in Week 18? In a must-win football game. Hell, you saw what happened to the Vikings, right? They lose that game against the Lions, and now the Vikings got to go on the road to play the Rams, and they lose, and now they're a 14-win first-round exit. So you know how important that football game, how much that football game meant to the Detroit Lions, and what happens? In a must-win game, they get it done at home. Again, ensuring that the NFC runs through Ford Field. You're telling me the Commanders are going to go to Detroit and win? Again, Washington is good, but there are just levels to this, guys. Simply put, there are levels to this game. And Detroit, simply put, is just on a different level right now. They just are. That run game, David Montgomery comes back. I don't know how much of a factor Monty is going to be, but again, assume Jahmyr Gibbs to carry the load, and again, if needed, in comes David Montgomery as a change of pace, right? Jared Goff is elite. The defense, sure, a little bit banged up, but getting healthier now. I just think Detroit's incredibly hard to beat right now. I just think they are. They're still missing some secondary pieces. Ennis Rakestraw now questionable. Carlton Davis will not be back over the course of the postseason, but they might get Ennis Rakestraw back, their second-round pick out of the University of Missouri. Like, there are guys that might return for Detroit. And again, they already got all this help back, obviously. Jack Campbell's officially back. Again, I don't think Hutchinson will be back until the Super Bowl potentially. But again, even if they get a guy like Ennis Rakestraw back in the lineup, that is going to help big time. I like what this Lions defense did last week or 2 weeks ago against the Vikings. And of course, guys, this might be one of the best offenses in NFL history. Just the way they're able to move the football. There are times where it just looks like, all right, how do you stop this Lions offense? They've got so many weapons. Goff obviously is elite. Jahmyr Gibbs is great. Monty's coming back. Amon-Ra, Jameson Williams, Tim Patrick is really good. He's always, got sure hands that he's going to come down with the football. Sam Laporte is elite. Brock Wright isn't bad. And of course, they've got one of the best offensive lines in all of football. They just do. Penei Sewell, you got Frank Ragnow, who's, really damn good and all-pro. Taylor Decker, hell, the most famous sixth lineman in NFL history, Dan Skipper. I like the Detroit Lions a lot in this spot. Again, I've liked what Washington has done all year. I'll be completely honest with you. I will be cheering for the winner of this game to win the Super Bowl. I have been cheering for the Lions for quite a bit now, but whoever wins this game, I will be cheering for them to win the Super Bowl this year. I like the Commanders a lot. I like Jaden Daniels a lot, but I just think they're outmatched in this football game. The Jaden Daniels fourth quarter and late game heroics, they're not going to be able to bail out the Commanders this time. They're just not. Because Detroit's not going to let this be that close of a game, I don't think. I'm serious. I think Detroit wins by 20 plus. I think Detroit wins this football game by 28 points. They're just that good at home, guys. It is hard to go into Detroit and win. I'm not going to say it's as bad as when, Jacksonville came into town and when Tennessee came to town. But I do think, again, the final score of this football game is like 56-28, 56-24. I could see that. I'll be honest with you. I could see something like that. Because I just don't know how Washington's going to get stops. It's hard to stop this Lions offense because they're so good. They can run the ball so effectively. And Jared Goff is going to make literally every single throw you ask of him. He's that elite. He's that good. He's that precise. Jared Goff's that good of a quarterback. He doesn't get all the respect that he deserves. But again, that's just how good Goff is. He should be in the MVP debate. Obviously, he's not going to win it with Allen and Lamar, who we'll talk about in a little bit here. But I just don't see how anyone beats the Lions, and I'm serious. Out of the 8 teams left, tell me who beats Detroit in a dome. I don't know. I don't think Buffalo gets them in a rematch. The Ravens, will the Ravens get there? I don't know. Kansas City, can you tell me with a straight face the Chiefs beat the Lions right now? I think Mahomes has never beat Jared Goff either, right? I don't know. I'm taking the Detroit Lions and Jared Goff to win this football game at home. The Commanders' story was great this year, but unfortunately, all good things eventually have to come to an end. Give me Detroit just bring us back to reality a little bit here. Again, the Commanders hype is fun, but this is what happens when you play the juggernaut, which is crazy that that's what the Lions are now in the postseason. But give me the Detroit Lions to win the football game. They'll win it by 20+. I like Detroit at home at Ford Field against the Washington Commanders. Let's move on now to Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, as we've got the Los Angeles Rams versus the Eagles on NBC. Give me the Rams. Yep, we are setting up for a rematch of last year's wild card round in Detroit between Stafford and Goff, Rams, Lions. I think we get it again. Guys, the Rams all season have been that team that have just kind of been hanging around. And it was like, all right, if this team can get healthy going into the playoffs, oh, they're a problem. If Stafford can get fully healthy, if Puka, and I know Cooper Kupp hasn't made that much of a difference. He really hasn't been that elite this year. But arguably, guys, you can say Puka Nacua. I think it was FanDuel put out a tweet today saying he was the best receiver in the NFL. I don't think he is. I think Puka Nacua, though, is pretty clearly number 3. I think personally, for me, I'd take him as the 3rd best receiver in the NFL. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Puka Nacua. Puka's the total package, man. He's a complete wide receiver. He's not the most flashy, but he's going to block more effectively than almost any other receiver in the NFL. He's more physical than any other receiver in the NFL. He's great running after the catch, and he doesn't drop anything. I'm serious. Puka, I think, is the 3rd best receiver in the NFL. I really like Puka Nacua. Fantasy-wise, he's going to be a top 5 pick next year. He should, because I don't know if Cooper Kupp returns to this team next year. I don't know if they can afford to pay him. Maybe Cooper Kupp becomes the 3rd receiver in Detroit next year. He takes the Tim Patrick role next year. Just saying. And he's a great run blocker. I don't know. But again, Los Angeles has always been a team this year where you're like, all right, if the O-line can get healthy, Tyler Higbee's back. I don't know. Again, Higbee got hurt in that game in Arizona against the Vikings last week. I don't know if Higbee's going to be playing this football game or not. But again, the Lions have always felt like a team where the Rams, if they can get healthy, man, they're going to be trouble. Philadelphia. All right. The Eagles beat the Packers last week in one of the most unimpressive playoff victories I've ever watched. Okay? Guys, they get the fumble kickoff, the fumble recovery on the kickoff to start the game. Boom, you get 7 points. You got to go 15 yards. After that, the Eagles score 15 points all game long. They had the 1 touchdown on the Goddard catch. And other than that, guys, this offense was stagnant the entire football game. It was very unlike the Philadelphia team we had watched all year long, and arguably they were playing one of the worst teams in the postseason. Yes, I said it. Green Bay, guys, we went over this discussion many times towards the end of the year after they lost to Minnesota. I said, you know what? Or I think it was after they lost the Lions the second time. I was like, you know what? I don't know how good the Packers are. It's just, I think it was after the Minnesota game. We're like, they've lost to every good team they've played. Sure, they're going to beat all the bad teams on their schedule, and that's what teams that make the playoffs do. But are they really elite? Because, yeah, they look good, but they can't beat anybody all that great. And what happens? They go on the road to Philadelphia, and they lose, and they lay an egg. And sure, the Eagles won it, but was it impressive? No, it was not. It was not an impressive win for Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts did not look that good. Hurts threw for, 131 yards? I've been saying it all year long, too, and I'm not a Jalen Hurts hater at all. I actually like Jalen Hurts. He was my fantasy football quarterback this year. I plan on taking Jalen Hurts every single year until I'm done playing fantasy football, which actually that'll be when Jalen Hurts is out of the league. Every year until Jalen Hurts is out of the league, I'm going to take Jalen Hurts in fantasy football because he's great. He steals all of Saquon's touchdowns, push. Why not? Rushing yards. But in the postseason, I've been saying it all year long, I think he's going to cost the Eagles. I think that's what's going to play the difference between them going to the Super Bowl or not. And here's the difference in this football game, guys. The quarterback play is just better for Los Angeles. Let's just be honest. Sure, Stafford had his games down the stretch this season where he was just not good. The 49ers game was one of those. The Rams game, the Cardinals game. Hell, every game down the stretch they played, he was not good. But you know what happened? Matthew Stafford got 1 week off. They finally got their first bye week since week 6. Did not play week 18. The Rams were perfectly fine, saying, you know what? We don't care about the matchup. Commanders don't care. We'll play the Vikings in the first round. What happens? They beat them after a week of rest, and Matthew Stafford looks like the best he's been since the Bills game on December 8th. That's what that rest will do to you. It's a Rams team that has been, scratching and clawing their way to try to get back to the postseason after their bad start. They started the year 1-4. you finally give them a week off and they look like a different team. They looked great. The pressure they're getting the quarterback, I mean, man, Darnold was sacked 9 times. I'm not saying they're going to do that to Philadelphia because Hurts is a tough guy to bring down, and the Vikings and the Lions gave the blueprint to how to beat, Minnesota. I literally said in the video last week that if you blitz Sam Darnold, it's trouble. That's what happened. But I do think they're able to pressure Jalen Hurts, and if you get in Jalen Hurts' face, he's not that great of a pure thrower of the football. He's just not. I like Hurts, but I'm not going to rely on his arm to win the football game. Now, Saquon Barkley, okay, these two teams did play earlier in the year. They did. They played on Sunday Night Football. They played November 24th, and the Eagles won 37-20. Okay, Puka was back by then. Saquon had a huge day running the football. He had that big run at the end of the game, but Saquon Barkley had 255 yards rushing that game. I think the Rams are going to kind of contain him a little bit more. I still think Saquon's going to have a decent day, but I don't think it's going to be a 200-yard game. I just don't think it's going to be. Again, I think the Rams win the football game. I think the difference in this game, guys, is the quarterback play. It's just that simple. I think Matthew Stafford's a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. Guys, A.J. Brown with 1 catch for 11 yards last week? Come on, that's just... I know A.J. doesn't care, but if you're going to win football games in the postseason, you need your number 2 playmaker, Saquon. But you need one of your playmakers to, well, not like he didn't show up, it's just you need to target him. He needs to get the ball in his hands. That's why you pay A.J. Brown all that money. I don't know. I like the Rams in this spot, man. The Philadelphia defense, sure, they shut down Jordan Love, but can they shut down Puka Nacua? Kyron Williams has been pretty good this season. The Rams have been able to win in the playoffs, and sure, the Eagles have too recently. Don't get me wrong. I mean, 2 years ago, they were in the Super Bowl. Obviously, last year, they got one and done, but Matthew Stafford has lost very little games since becoming a Ram in the month of December and January. I think he's lost 1. If I'm not mistaken, I think in Stafford's entire tenure as a member of the Los Angeles Rams, he's lost 1 game in December and January for the Rams. It was that game last year against the Detroit Lions and Jared Goff. He's lost 1 game. I don't think Jalen Hurts is the one to do it. And I think the NFL gets the matchup they want. They get Rams-Lions, Goff versus Stafford. Stafford returning back to Ford Field for the second time with a trip to go to the Super Bowl on the line. That's the biggest game the NFL could get next week, except for Mahomes versus Lamar, Josh Allen. I mean, the NFL, if they get these matchups, nothing against the Eagles, but this is the matchup the NFL wants. Rams and Lions, and then Mahomes versus Allen or Jackson. Cha-ching, cha-ching. It's going to happen. Give me the Los Angeles Rams to go to Lincoln Financial Field. They'll win the football game. You can keep your 6.5 points. I want the Rams straight up. I think they go to Philadelphia and win. Matthew Stafford's the better quarterback, and the Rams, I think, have the team to do it. Give me Los Angeles to go on the road. Don't care if it's snowing. I really do not. I think the Rams go in there and get it done. Give me Los Angeles on the road in Philadelphia. Let's move on to our final game of the night. Sunday Night Football, or it's at 3:30, but still. Game of the week. The Baltimore Ravens go to Buffalo, New York to take on the Buffalo Bills. I'm so pumped for this football game. I am so incredibly excited. I find it interesting Baltimore's favored to win this football game, but I get it because they won the first encounter on Sunday night earlier this year. Baltimore wins it by 25 points, 35-10. That was the worst game Sean McDermott and Joe Brady have called all year long, though. It just was. They called a horrible game that game. As soon as the Bills had one chance to get back in that football game, they tried to run the end around to Josh Allen, which failed because Allen fumbled and got strip sacked. I mean, there were so many missed opportunities in that football game for the Bills. They played much better since that Ravens loss. I think they're fine. I think they're okay. I don't mind Buffalo at plus money here. Guys, +1 or -105, however you want to see it. I don't want to say it, but I will. I think Lamar Jackson's going to choke. I think it's going to happen. And, okay, I really like Lamar Jackson. I really do. I actually don't care who wins this football game. But whoever wins this game, I'm cheering for them to go to the Super Bowl, right? I like Lamar Jackson. I want Lamar Jackson to succeed. Don't get it twisted. But on the road in Buffalo, it's going to be, last I checked, it was going to be 18 degrees in Buffalo for this game. I'm going to check on my phone right now. It's going to be cold. This is a Buffalo-type football game. Sunday, 13 degrees. Oh, man, it's supposed to snow on Saturday. No snow in the forecast. But 13 degrees, I mean, the Bills are used to this. This is their environment. They play this all the time. And sure, Baltimore gets cold in Maryland, but it doesn't get upstate New York cold. Let's just be honest. It's a whole other animal, man. It's a whole other animal. I think it's an extremely tough game for Lamar Jackson to go win. And again, on paper, Lamar Jackson's been the best quarterback this season in the NFL. He's great. I think Josh Allen should win the MVP still. I honestly think so. I know Lamar's stats are better, but just eye test-wise, yes, Lamar Jackson is good, but I think Josh Allen's slightly better this year. Again, they're 1A and 1B this year in the NFL. They just are. They are. Joe Burrow. I don't know. Those are the top three. Goff is 4, so whatever. But as much as I love Jared Goff, there is a gap between Allen, Jackson, and Burrow, and then Goff. There just is. Yes, he's better than Patrick Mahomes, by the way. He is. Which, in the playoffs, we'll see. We'll see if Mahomes turns up. But I have a feeling he's not, honestly. We'll see. I have a feeling Mahomes just lays an egg. But, oh, here come the Chiefs and the refs. Oh, they win the game by 3 points. Whatever. Oh, Harrison Butker trotting out for a field goal. Oh, Kansas City does it. Oh, let's pan to Taylor Swift. Oh, KC. Oh. I think it's going to be a really high-scoring game. This is going to be I don't know if, okay. Either it's an all-time playoff game or the Bills just blow them out, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I could see it. I could really see it. I could see Buffalo just beating the crap out of this team. I really could. Their defense is getting a lot better. I know they played, Bo Nix and the Broncos last week, but they only gave up 7 points on the first drive. After that, the defense was completely fine the rest of the game. And I think the Bills are going to score at will. I just think they're going to. I think every time they touch the ball, I think the Bills might score. Obviously, again, I'm exaggerating a little bit here. And sure, Baltimore very well could do the same exact thing. But I think the playmakers is where Buffalo wins. But the thing is, Lamar and Josh Allen, I can't even say that. Because Lamar and Josh Allen, they both don't have weapons. Like, they don't have crazy weapons. And that's why, again, they're the 2 best quarterbacks in the league. Lamar Jackson's doing with this. Derrick Henry sure is a playmaker. He's a weapon. But other than Derrick Henry, I mean, it's sure, Zay Flowers was a Pro Bowler this year, but Zay Flowers, and he's not going to take over a football game. Zay Flowers is only in that position because of Lamar Jackson. It's like Wes Welker was never a star because he's Wes Welker. Let's just be honest, it was Tom Brady, right? It's not like he had the Randy Moss effect for the Patriots, right? Same thing with Julian Edelman, right? Even though I think Edelman's better historically than Welker, but whatever. That's a story for another day. So again, it's the same thing with Zay Flowers and Lamar. Like, Lamar's really only true playmaker is Derrick Henry. Josh Allen doesn't really have one at all, let's just be honest. Like, James Cook's good, sure. Amari Cooper doesn't really do much anymore for this team. He had 1 catch for 8 yards in the first game, or 2 catches for 8 yards against the Broncos. There's not that one guy in the Bills that you can point at and be like, all right, Josh Allen's got him to rely on, like Diggs in years past, right? But ultimately, that's where the Bills have been better. It's because, again, Allen's been able to distribute the football. There's not one ball-needy guy on this team, and everyone just kind of does their job. So I think on playmaking-wise, sure. I think Lamar Jackson does have more weapons because they just have the threat Derrick Henry, who is very hard to bring down. But I do think Buffalo finds a way to contain him in the snow. Again, I think the snow makes a difference, man. I really think it does, personally. Or not in the snow, but in the cold, excuse me. And the game just being in Buffalo is why I'm going to take the Bills. And let's just be honest, guys. Lamar Jackson does not have the best track record in the playoffs. Just doesn't. And on the road, last year? Well, last year they were at home and they lost to the Chiefs. 2022, that was the Tyler Huntley year. 2021, they go to KC. 2021, they missed the postseason. 2020, they went on the road to Buffalo and lost. It was 17-3. 19, they lose at home to the Titans. The year before that was his rookie year at home against the Chargers. He's only gone on the road and lost once in the playoffs, in all fairness. But Lamar Jackson just hasn't won in the playoffs before. And I get it. The Bills haven't entirely won all the time, but it has just kind of been the Bills who lost the Chiefs. And the Ravens have lost the Chiefs too, but Josh Allen's main losses are just, Patrick Mahomes. I don't know. I think the Bills get it, guys. I think they do. And I think the NFL gets their money matchup. That's what they don't care who wins this football game, honestly. They both have to go to Kansas City. Either way, you get Jackson versus Mahomes or Allen versus Mahomes. You get elite quarterbacks in this game regardless. But the NFL's, as long as the Chiefs win, the NFL is making money. And as long as the Lions get in there and hopefully play the Rams. I mean, my goodness, if this happens, man, I think the Bills beat the Ravens. I think you get great value on the Bills right now. I don't care they lost the first game. I think they're going to be better this game. I think Josh Allen's going to take over the football game and prove why he's the best quarterback in the NFL. Okay, that's why we're taking the Bills. And I do think they're able to find a way to really just contain Derrick Henry, chop down Derrick Henry, and just, you got to find a way to limit Lamar Jackson, who did have 8 designated carries in the first drive of their game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is crazy. But I do think they find a way to contain that. And even though Lamar's a great thrower of the football, I think they're going to force him to throw. And again, we'll see if Zay Flowers plays. But, I think, again, if you can stop Derrick Henry, you can stop Lamar Jackson's running abilities, force him to be a pocket passer, which, again, Lamar is a good pocket passer now. But still, it's the best way. That's your best chance of beating him. And I think that's what happens in this game. I think the Bills get it. So we're going to see Bills, Chiefs, I think, in Arrowhead next week. Big time football game. Bills beat them the first time. We'll see what happens in the postseason. And then you get the game I'd be so excited for, man. Rams-Lions. You thought last year's Rams-Lions game was exciting? Oh, now the winner goes to the Super Bowl in Detroit? They hate Stafford now. Oh, my goodness. And you got the whole thing with Dan Campbell telling Kevin O'Connell a couple weeks ago, oh, I'm sure we'll see you in a couple weeks, or I'll see you in a couple weeks. Well, the Rams beat the Vikings. Oh, my goodness, it would be great. I just want to see that game so badly. I want to see Stafford versus Goff, winner going to the Super Bowl. It would be awesome. It would be so great. Anyways, folks, we're taking, again, the AFC Championship game next week. We think it's going to be the Buffalo Bills going on the road to Kansas City to play the Chiefs. And we think the NFC Championship game is the Los Angeles Rams going on the road to take on the Detroit Lions. So, folks, thank you all for watching our NFL Divisional Round playoff predictions here on the channel. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back next week for the NFC and AFC Championship game predictions as well. Folks, thank you all for watching, and Mamba forever.